Nadia Coleman holds out the burger with both hands and the man in front of her starts to cry. He does not reach for it right away. He stares at the foil like it might disappear. His fingers are cracked from the cold. Behind him, the sign above Rosebud Cafe buzzes, red light bouncing off the wet gravel. "Take it," Nadia says. "It's still warm." Her daughter, Zuri, stands close to her leg, arms wrapped around a brown teddy bear, watching the stranger with wide eyes. Nadia's coveralls are stained with grease from the shop. Her hands still smell like motor oil. She has exactly $6 in her pocket, and she just gave half of it away. The man takes the burger. His hand shakes so hard the foil crinkles. "Why?" he asks. His voice cracks on the word. Nadia shrugs like it's nothing. "You looked hungry, that's all." What she does not know is that 3 black SUVs are already turning onto this street, and the men inside them have been watching this exact corner for the last 4 minutes. Before we go further, if this is your first time here, welcome. Stories like this one are why this channel exists, so hit subscribe now so you don't miss what happens to Nadia next, because this story is about to change everything she thought she knew about the world. The man wipes his eyes with the back of his sleeve. He looks down at the burger, then up at Nadia, then down at Zuri and her teddy bear. "You don't even know my name," he says. "Didn't ask for it," Nadia answers. "You don't owe me your life story for a burger." A car door slams somewhere behind him. He flinches, just slightly, like the sound means something to him that it shouldn't mean to a man with nothing. Nadia notices it. She files it away without saying anything. "Eat," she tells him, "before it gets cold." He takes one bite. Then he stops chewing. His eyes fill up again, and this time he does not wipe them away. "Ma'am," he says quietly, "you have no idea what you just did." Nadia laughs it off, tells Zuri it's time to go, and starts walking home. She does not look back. She does not see the tall figure stepping out of the nearest SUV, phone already pressed to his ear. She has no idea that by tomorrow, her name will matter to a man worth $19 billion. The black SUV does not move. Nadia notices that too, though she keeps walking, Zuri's small hand tight in hers. Behind her, the man sits back down on the bench outside Rosebud Cafe, the burger halfway finished in his lap. He is not looking at his food anymore. He is watching Nadia's back until she turns the corner and disappears. A tall man in a gray suit steps up beside him. He does not sit. He waits, hands folded, until his boss speaks first. "Did you see that?" the man on the bench asks. "I saw it," the suited man answers. "Same as the last 4. "No," the man on the bench shakes his head slowly. "Not the same. She had $6. She gave me 3 of them without asking a single question about who I am or why I'm out here." The suited man glances toward the corner where Nadia disappeared. "You want me to run her name?" "Not yet. Sir, with respect, we've been at this 3 weeks. Every test, every corner, every city block. Nobody has done what she just did." The man on the bench finally looks up. His eyes are red, but they are steady now. "That's exactly why I don't want to rush it." He remembers the questions he used to ask people back when he ran a company and sat in boardrooms. Now he asks different questions, quieter ones, the kind that reveal who a person really is when nobody is watching. Nadia never once asked him what happened to him. She never asked why a grown man was sitting alone on a bench in November with cracked hands and torn shoes. She just saw hunger and answered it. He finishes the last bite of the burger slowly, like he wants the moment to last. "Get the car ready," he finally says. "But not for tonight. I need to know more about her first, where she works, what she's carrying, what she's already lost." The suited man hesitates, "And if what we find changes things?" The man on the bench stands, his knees stiff from the cold concrete. He looks one more time toward the corner where a mother and her daughter just vanished into the gray afternoon, carrying nothing but a warm paper bag and no idea what they had just started. It won't, he says. I already know everything I need to know. A phone camera clicks from across the street, and neither Nadia nor the man on the bench notices. The photo shows a mother in stained coveralls handing a burger to a stranger while her daughter clutches a teddy bear. It is nothing special to look at. But the young woman who took it, a barista on her break outside Rosebud Café, stares at it for a long moment before she posts it online with 3 words. Faith still exists. She has no idea who the man in the photo really is. Back inside the SUV, an assistant pulls up the same photo on a tablet and turns the screen toward his boss. Sir, this is already moving. The man studies the image of himself, crying, holding a burger like it's the only thing that matters. He does not ask for it to be taken down. Leave it, he says. Leave it, sir, if someone connects the dots. Then they connect the dots. He hands the tablet back. I'm done hiding what happened today. The assistant lowers his voice. You haven't said that in 3 weeks. Not after the man in Detroit who slammed the door in your face. Not after the woman in Cleveland who called security on you. This is different. How? The man looks out the tinted window toward the corner where Nadia disappeared 20 minutes ago. Because she didn't just give me food. She gave it to me like I still mattered. Like being broke doesn't mean being invisible. He thinks about his own father, a man who worked 2 jobs his whole life and still made sure nobody at his table went hungry, family, or stranger. He thinks about the promise he made after his father died, a promise he has spent 3 years trying to keep in a way that actually means something. Find out everything, he finally says. Her name, her job, what she's up against. I want to know before tomorrow. The assistant nods and starts typing. Neither of them knows yet that the photo has already been shared 400 times, and by morning, half the city will be asking the same question. Who is the man Nadia Coleman fed on a bench outside Rosebud Café? The apartment smells like burnt toast and cold air, because the heater has been broken for 6 days, and Nadia still has not found the money to fix it. Zuri runs straight to the couch and sets her teddy bear against the pillow like it needs to rest too. Nadia locks the door behind them twice, out of habit more than fear. Mama, was that man okay? Zuri asks, kicking off her sneakers. He's fine, baby. Just needed a little help today. Like how we needed help when Daddy went to heaven. Nadia freezes for half a second at the sink. Water running over her hands, she turns it off slowly. Kind of like that, yeah. Zuri doesn't press further. 5-year-olds rarely do. She climbs onto the couch and starts talking to her bear about her day, and Nadia lets the sound fill the apartment because the silence usually feels worse. She checks her phone. 1 missed call from the shop, 1 text from her landlord. Rent 3 days late, final notice attached in bold red letters. She reads it twice, hoping the words will change the second time. They don't. She sits at the kitchen table and spreads out what's left of her cash. $4 and change. Payday isn't for another 6 days, and the shop cut her hours last week when business slowed down for winter. Overtime used to cover the gap. Not anymore. She thinks about Marcus, the way he used to sit at this same table with a notepad, sketching out numbers for the garage they were going to open together before the accident took him from her and Zuri in a single, terrible night. Don't let it take who you are, he used to tell her. Money comes and goes, character doesn't. She repeats it under her breath now, like a prayer. Zuri falls asleep on the couch before 8, teddy bear tucked under her chin. Nadia covers her with a blanket, kisses her forehead, and sits by the window with her phone, scrolling through job listings she has already applied to twice. That's when she notices the black SUV parked across the street, engine running, headlights off, exactly where it's been for the last 40 minutes, facing her building like it's waiting for something. She pulls the curtain back an inch further. Nobody gets out. Nobody drives away either. Or someone. The knock on the door comes at 9 at night. 3 sharp raps that make Nadia's heart slam against her ribs. She looks through the peephole. A man in a suit stands there, hands folded, calm in a way that makes her more nervous, not less. Behind him, 2 more men wait by the stairs. "Ms. Coleman," the man says through the door, "my name is Preston Hale. I work for someone who needs to speak with you." Nadia does not open the door. It's 9 o'clock at night. Whoever you work for can call during business hours. He tried to think of another way to do this. He couldn't find one. Something in his voice makes her cautious rather than afraid. She cracks the door with the chain still on, one eye on the men waiting behind him. "Who exactly are you talking about?" Preston holds up his phone. On the screen is a photo of Nadia handing the burger to the man on the bench, the same photo from that afternoon, now shared thousands of times. Underneath it, a headline: "Local billionaire spotted homeless in Lincoln Park, fed by stranger who had nothing left to give." Nadia's stomach drops. That's not possible. That man was homeless. That's what he wanted you to believe. Down on the street, a car door opens. Nadia looks past Preston's shoulder and sees him, the man from the bench, except now he's wearing a coat that costs more than her car, stepping out of the SUV like he owns the entire block. He's a billionaire. Someone shouts from across the street, phone already raised, recording. Nadia unlatches the chain, more out of shock than decision, and opens the door wider. "Who are you?" she asks him directly, her voice shaking now. He climbs the last step and stands in her doorway. The same man who cried over a burger 6 hours ago, except now his eyes hold something closer to certainty than grief. "My name is Elijah Boone," he says, "and what you did for me today is about to change your daughter's entire life. But before I explain why, I need you to understand something first. I wasn't testing you by accident." Nadia's grip tightens on the door. "Testing me for what?" Elijah takes a breath, and for the first time since she met him, he looks nervous, like the last 3 weeks of testing strangers all led to this one doorway. "For $19 million, he says, "and I need to tell you exactly why it has to be you." A woman named Nadia Price slams her front door in Elijah's face 3 days before he ever meets Nadia, and the sound of it still rings in his ears. That was Cleveland, before Chicago, before the burger, before everything changed. Elijah stands in Nadia's doorway now, watching her process what he just told her, but his mind flashes back to the 2 people who failed his test that same week. Nadia Price owned a food truck 2 blocks from where he sat pretending to be broke. He asked her for a free meal. She told him to get a job and walked away without looking back. He didn't blame her, but it told him something. Then there was Marcus Webb. Marcus recognized him almost right away, even under the beard and the torn coat, because Marcus used to work security at one of Elijah's old office buildings downtown. Instead of offering help, Marcus tried to sell the story to a local news station for $2,000. "Small world," Marcus had said, smirking, phone already in his hand. "Bet the tabloids would love this." Elijah paid him to stay quiet and left without another word. That night was the first time in 3 weeks he considered stopping the test entirely. Nadia doesn't know any of this yet, standing in her doorway with her arms crossed, waiting for him to explain himself. She doesn't know she is the 4th person he has tested, or that 2 names on his list belong to people who once knew exactly who she was. "Marcus Webb," Elijah says slowly, watching her face for a reaction. "Does that name mean anything to you?" Nadia's expression shifts just slightly. "He used to date my sister, years ago. Why does that matter?" Elijah exhales. "Some connections are coincidence. This one isn't." "Because 3 days ago he had the exact same chance you did," Elijah says, "and he chose money instead." If this story is moving you the way it's moved thousands of others, make sure you're subscribed and your notification bell is turned on, because Chapter 7 is where everything gets even more personal for Nadia. Nadia's arms drop slowly to her sides. What does that mean for me? It means, Elijah says, you're about to find out exactly how much your choice was worth. Nadia's phone buzzes on the kitchen counter at 6 in the morning, and she almost ignores it, thinking it's another bill collector. It isn't. She sits up on the couch where she fell asleep next to Zuri, grabs the phone, and sees an email from an address she doesn't recognize. The subject line stops her cold. Coleman Family Trust confirmation required. She opens it with shaking hands. There's no dollar amount listed, just a name, a case number, and a request to appear at an address downtown by 9 that morning. At the bottom, a single line signed by Elijah Boone. What you gave me yesterday, I intend to return 1,000 times over. Come see for yourself. Zuri stirs beside her. Mama, who's texting so early? Nobody, baby. Get dressed. We're going somewhere. Nadia almost throws the envelope idea away entirely. Part of her still thinks this is some kind of setup, a scam targeting people exactly like her, people desperate enough to believe good things can still happen without a catch. She's seen those stories on the news, people losing what little they had left chasing a promise that was never real. But then she remembers his face on the bench. The way he cried over a burger like it was the first kind thing anyone had done for him in years. Scammers don't cry like that. Not real tears, not that shaking in his hands. She gets Zuri dressed, drops her at her neighbor's apartment for the morning, and takes the bus downtown, her stomach twisting with every stop. The building she arrives at isn't an office. It's a bakery, still under construction, plywood covering the windows, a half-finished sign propped against the brick that she can't quite read from the sidewalk. Preston Hale is waiting outside, the same man from her doorway last night. Ms. Coleman, right on time. What is this place? Preston doesn't answer. He simply opens the door and steps aside. Mr. Boone is waiting for you inside, he says. He asked me to tell you something first. He said you're about to understand exactly why he chose you and why nothing about yesterday was an accident. Nadia steps through the door, and the first thing she sees stops her breath completely. The bakery is not empty. 12 people stand inside it, cameras rolling, and every single one of them turns to look at Nadia the moment she steps through the door. Her hand flies to her chest. What is going on? Elijah steps forward from the small crowd, dressed differently now than he was last night, but his eyes are the same ones that cried over her burger less than 24 hours ago. Ms. Coleman, he says, I want you to look around before I say anything else. She looks. Stainless steel counters still wrapped in plastic, empty display cases waiting for shelves, fresh paint on the walls, the smell of it still sharp in the air, a chalkboard on the wall with nothing written on it yet, and above the front window, a sign covered by a white sheet, waiting to be unveiled. I don't understand, Nadia says. Why am I here? Elijah takes a breath before he answers. My father worked 2 jobs for 30 years, so our family never went hungry. He used to say the same thing you told me yesterday, almost word for word. That character isn't about what you have. It's about what you're willing to give when you have almost nothing left. He pauses, his voice tightening. He died 3 years ago, diabetes complications, because he couldn't afford treatment early enough even after everything I built. I was 3 days too late getting him into the right hospital. 3 days. Nadia's arms drop to her sides. She doesn't speak. Since then, Elijah continues, I've spent every year testing strangers, looking for someone who reminds me of him, someone who gives when giving costs something real. Everyone else failed that test. You didn't. He nods toward Preston, who pulls the white sheet down from the sign above the window. The sign reads, MARCUS and Nadia's Kitchen opening soon. Nadia's knees nearly give out. That was our dream, mine and my husband's. How could you possibly know that? Because after last night, I had my team learn everything about the life you and Marcus tried to build before the accident took him. This building, fully funded, fully staffed, fully yours, along with a trust fund for Zuri that activates the day she turns 18. Nadia covers her mouth with both hands, tears already falling. But before you say anything, Elijah says quietly, there's one more thing you need to know about why I really chose you, and it isn't the reason you think. It isn't the reason you think, Elijah says again, and the room goes completely silent. Nadia braces herself. After everything she's already learned this morning, she isn't sure what else could shake her. I told you my father worked 2 jobs, Elijah says. What I didn't tell you is his name, Marcus Boone. Nadia's breath catches. That's my husband's name too, Marcus. I know, Elijah says quietly. That's not why I chose you, but it's not nothing either. 2 men, same name, both gone too soon, both leaving behind someone who had to learn how to survive without them. He steps closer. But here's the real reason, Nadia. My father used to say something else, something I forgot for years while I was busy building a company. He said the people who help you when you have nothing to offer them back are the only people worth trusting with something big. He gestures around the bakery. You didn't know who I was. You fed me because I looked hungry. That's the entire test. Not the money, not the cameras, just that. Nadia wipes her eyes, still struggling to process everything. $19 million is not a small thing to hand someone because they shared a burger. You're right, Elijah says. It's not about the burger, it's about what it revealed. I've spent 3 years testing people looking for someone with your character. Most people, when they think no one's watching, walk past. You didn't. Preston steps forward with a folder, sliding it gently across a nearby counter toward Nadia. Inside are the deed to the bakery, a business license already filed under her name, and paperwork for a trust fund for Zuri. This isn't a loan, Elijah says. It isn't charity either. Charity implies I'm giving you something you didn't earn. You earned this the moment a stranger's hunger mattered more than your own hesitation. Nadia looks down at the papers, then up at the sign still covered by the sheet, then finally at Elijah. Marcus always said kindness costs the most when it actually costs you something, she whispers. He'd have liked you. Elijah smiles for the first time since she met him. I think I'd have liked him too. If this story has touched you, make sure you're subscribed with your notification bell on, and drop a comment telling us what you would have done in Nadia's shoes. Because what happens next changes everything about the way this city sees them both. Preston clears his throat. Sir, there's one more thing. The press is already outside. Elijah's smile fades slightly. How many? More than we expected, Preston says. And they're not just here for the story anymore. 6 months later, the smell of fresh bread pulls people through the door of Marcus and Nadia's kitchen before they even see the sign. Nadia stands behind the counter in a clean apron, no more grease under her nails, ringing up a line that stretches out the door most mornings now. Zuri sits at the corner table doing homework, teddy bear propped in the chair beside her, waving at every regular who walks past. A reporter stops by that afternoon, notebook in hand, the same story everyone still wants to hear a year later. People still ask me if I regret it, Nadia tells her, wiping flour from her hands. Giving away half my food that day, not knowing where my next meal was coming from. I tell them the same thing every time. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow. I was thinking about a man who looked hungry. Elijah visits every few weeks now, always sitting at the same corner table, always ordering the same things Zuri picked out for him on his first visit. He funds 4 more Coleman-style grants a year now, quietly, no cameras, no reporters, looking for the next person willing to give when they have almost nothing left. You didn't just save my bakery, Nadia told him once, watching Zuri run laps around the tables after closing. You gave me back the life, Marcus, and I planned before I thought it was gone for good. "You gave it back to yourself," Elijah told her. "I just wrote the check." Above the counter now hangs a small framed photo, the one from that first night outside Rosebud Café, a mother sharing her last meal with a stranger who turned out to be far more than he seemed. Underneath it, a single line Nadia added herself: "Character isn't what you have. It's what you give when you have almost nothing left." If this story moved you even half as much as it moved us to tell it, hit subscribe and turn on your notification bell so you never miss the next story about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Drop a comment below and tell us what you would have done in Nadia's shoes, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still changes lives. We'll see you in the next story.